Let's check out the Asmongold video. Why I'm excited for Dragonflight.
What's up, boys? Today I want to talk to you.
I just want to point out, first thing, right at the start of the video. Why is it not at the treehouse, man? I like these better when they're at the treehouse. Do you guys like it when he's at the treehouse? Just like hanging out at the treehouse. I guess it's probably cold. Yeah, it's probably cold in Texas right now, so it's not as comfortable at the treehouse. Like, I really like these when it's at the treehouse.
All about Dragonflight. Obviously, expansion's going to be coming out in a day or two. I haven't made too many videos about it, but rest assured I am excited. And I want to talk to you all in this video about why. So, Dragonflight has been met with a lot of very, very strong skepticism. I wonder why. But the fact is that I think the expansion will probably be better than Shadowlands and hopefully also better than BFA.
Let me just say that I do not share this enthusiasm right off the bat. I'm going in with what I would consider to be an open mind, like I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I'm going in with a ridiculous amount of skepticism because I came back during BFA and I was super excited for BFA because like they made it seem like it was going to be this amazing thing. We're going to go back to basics, Horde versus Alliance. It's the battle for Azeroth. And then turns out the expansion was something completely different. It wasn't really a battle for Azeroth. I guess in a way it was because there's a big old god at the end or whatever. But it didn't really feel like a battle for Azeroth expansion. And on top of it, it was filled with a bunch of bullshit systems. And so I got burned. And I was like, okay, fuck this, I'm out. Then Shadowlands comes out. And I'm like, oh, this time's going to be different. And everybody was saying, this time's going to be different. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be good. And I'm like, okay, let's hype ourselves up a little bit. And let's go in. And I was super hyped up. And I was like, let's go. And I got burned again. So this time, it's like, listen, bro. We're already at Fool Me Twice. We're not even at Fool Me Once. We're at Fool Me Twice. I'm not going to get got a third time. I'm not getting excited for Dragonflight ahead of time. As a matter of fact, like, and here's an interesting thing. And this, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, and I'm not lying. I guarantee you that this is the truth. Here's an interesting thing. The closer we come to Dragonflight, the more I feel like I should have just started playing Guild Wars 2. No joke. This is literally how I feel. It's just at this point I'm like, well, I've done kind of like the work. I've already bought the game because I wanted to check out dragon riding and all this bullshit. And I'm like, I guess I'll check it out. That's more where I'm at right now in my headspace. I'm like, I guess I'll check it out and we'll see. And we've been doing all of this content. So, let's hope for the best. But I'm not going in like, oh, let's fucking go. Yeah. No. I'm nowhere near that level of excitement. And like I said, the closer we come to the release date, the more I'm starting to have like buyer's remorse, if anything. Hopefully I'll be proven wrong. I'm open to being proven wrong. I'm open to jumping in there and being like, oh, actually, this is fucking amazing. I'm having a blast. But I'm not expecting that to happen.
I don't think this is completely copium, although I'm sure it's part of the equation, and I want to talk to you all about why I think that. I think one of the biggest criticisms of Dragonflight is the fact that it doesn't have a big flagship system like
So you're going in with a negative feeling into the game and forcing yourself if you're thinking about it rather buying something else. No, it's not about buying. I already own Guild Wars 2. I already own the latest Guild Wars 2 expansion, Dragonflight. I'm not going in with a negative sentiment, so to speak. I'm going in neutral. What I'm saying is that I'm not going in excited. Like if you were to announce, let's put it a different way. I'm much more excited for like Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak's title update 3, which is just like a minor title update with a couple of new features for the game, than I am for Dragonflight, which is a brand new expansion. It's not about going in negative. It's about going in neutral. Okay, it's like I like the talent system. I already tested it. I think it's good. I like the dragon riding, but I'm very hesitant towards what the content of the expansion is going to be, especially after the Noble interview, where essentially what Steve Denuser said is like, the game's just not very good for me to tell my story on. So I want to tell my story on books, and the game is for gameplay. And it's just like, bro, I don't want to read books. Okay? And it's not because I have something against reading books. I just think like if I'm playing a game, the majority of the story should be in the game. That's just the way that I feel. And, you know, the Newser interview actually made me be like, ugh. And the Morgan Day interview where they basically quadrupled down on the Great Vault also is like, ugh. You know, so it's just like there's still a bunch of systems in World of Warcraft that I do not like. Whether or not, you know, the expansion is going to be good enough for me to deal with that, we'll find out. But I'm going in very much neutral.
About why I think that. I think one of the biggest criticisms of Dragonflight is the fact that it doesn't have a big flagship system like Torghast, Covenants, Conduits. Let's see.
By the way, Torghast was actually pretty good. I'm gonna say it. Torghast is pretty good. The biggest problem with Torghast is that it was mandatory. If it wasn't mandatory and it had alternate rewards, it would have been much better. The problem with Torghast is that it was made to be tied in with the legendary system, and that was its biggest problem.
Azerite armor, Warfronts. It doesn't have, let's see, Legion legendaries, artifact weapons, anything like this. And a lot of people are saying that, like, oh wow, the expansion is doomed because it doesn't have one of these. Well, where the fuck were you? These things killed the previous expansions. The problem
Yep,
with
pretty much.
Shadowlands was the Covenants. It's these systems. So whenever you go and tell me that there's an expansion coming out that doesn't have this massive flagship system with these obvious fucking flaws that Blizzard refused.
And there is a system in the game. The dragon riding. Dragon riding is like technically speaking a borrowed power system kind of, even though it's not really like character power. It's just a system to get you around the thing, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad system. I don't think it's a bad system, but it is a system.
Is to acknowledge until halfway through the expansion, this is not going to be a negative for me. It's going to be a positive. And also,
Yeah, I agree.
I don't even think that's true. I think the fact is that we've got the whole new talent system. And from what I've heard, and I've asked my chat, I've asked many people, and I'll ask you guys today, you can write in the comments section if you feel the same way. I'm happy with my new talent tree.
Yeah,
I
talent tree
think
is pretty
it's
good.
interesting,
Yeah,
it's fun,
I agree.
and I feel like they're blue balling me because I can almost make this really good build, but I'm going to have to wait until Dragonflight to do it.
Of course, that was the whole intention.
A day or two. So, yes, I'm very positive about it because there's not the addition of a bunch of systems that are being shipped with obvious flaws to be fixed later for content. I also think that focusing on making the foundation of the game a lot better is really what Blizzard should have been doing probably 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because the game...
It's like rather than do all of these convoluted systems, just make more content. The time that you would spend working on like, oh, gonna meticulously craft like fucking, how many talent trees was it? It was like, listen, you're talking about 4 covenants, each of them with 4 different talent trees. It's like, bruh, get rid of all that shit. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. And just make more content.
Kind of has just evolved in like such a dramatic way over that time. I mean, of course it has. That it's time that they need to kind of come back, pull back, and look at how the foundation of the game is doing and how the actual players are experiencing the game. And I think this is what the talent system does very well. And I would argue that the talent trees that they're adding in, or they've already added in, are more transformative to the game than nearly anything else they've ever done. Usually, it's like with Mythic Plus, if you do PvP, you don't give a fuck about it. I mean, to be fair, everybody does need Covenants and Shadowlands, unfortunately. But overall, I mean, I would say, like, you know, if you're not max level, you're not thinking about Covenants. The thing with the talent trees is that they affect literally every single person that plays the game. So if you play WoW, if you are not even max level, you are still being affected by these talent trees. If you are max level, you get to change and do these talent trees differently. If you're a PvPer, you have the same talent tree, minus a handful of other ones, of course, for PvP talents. But in general, the talent trees are the most transformative change Blizzard has made in the game in a very, very long time. And I think that it goes to show some degree of positivity whenever people are generally positive about them. I think that I enjoy my talent tree. A lot of my viewers have enjoyed theirs. As I said, be curious to hear what your opinions are about it. But I do think that it's a positive thing. Next thing is that I'm not like as I said, this is not purely copium. Okay, like yes, I do understand that every single commercial for the game just shows people flying around on dragons. Oh, I don't know how fun that's gonna be. I mean, like, you're just going around, you know. I mean, how's this gonna be any more fun than Star Fox, right? I have no idea. But at the end of the day, I'm sure it'll be enjoyable. But it's certainly not something that's gonna make me buy the game. But the truth is that I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be nice. It's just not really something insane. I think really
I kind of disagree with this take. I think that dragon riding is actually an extremely important system. And the reasoning behind that is because traversal is always a big deal in games like this, particularly games that have like a reasonably large open world, which even though this is not a traditional open world game, obviously it's an MMORPG. MMORPGs are by definition usually open world games to an extent. It's a big open world for you to do things in. And having an adequate traversal system that does not feel boring is actually a really good way to engage the players. Like, think back to, for instance, the Spider-Man games in PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It was just cool to web sling around the city, if you think about that, right? Wasn't it just cool to web sling around the city? It's fucking awesome. Yeah, you're goddamn right, it's cool. Look at Xenoblade Chronicles X, which probably almost nobody knows what that game is. But one of the coolest things about Xenoblade Chronicles X is that even with your base character, you could jump ridiculous heights. And you'd run really fast, which makes exploration really, really fun because you can run really fast and you can jump really high. It's really cool. Look at Guild Wars 2, which is basically where they stole dragon riding from. Traversing the world with those crazy mounts that they have over there, which are like the best mounts in any MMO, is really fun. It's all about how fun is the traversal in the game. And traversal is something that often gets overlooked, and it is one of the most important aspects of a lot of video games. People grossly underestimate how important traversal is. Like, people are just, in a lot of video games, people are like, oh, give me a mount. Mount is not that interesting. Like, just a regular MMO mount is not interesting at all. They're just like running around a little bit faster. Who gives a fuck? It doesn't actually bring you any new elements of traversal. And you're like, well, you get flying mounts. It's like, yeah, it's like swimming in the air. Great. Really fun. I actually fucking hate flying mounts in MMOs. I think they're terrible. I think that flying mounts in general are terrible. But a flying mount like this, where basically navigating with this mount is like a minigame in and of itself, and you have to like interact with it, I think that is actually a very positive thing. I think, again, traversal is something that is often overlooked in open world games, and it is an essential part of navigating these worlds.
What Dragonflight needs to do, and I've said this for a while, is that Blizzard needs to scale back and think about making the game better. And in order to make WoW good again, you could say, great again, even.
I think another thing that is very important is that they need to stop thinking in terms of deleting content. Like deleting the content from Shadowlands, which is essentially what they're doing. They're making that content meaningless. This needs to be the last time they pull that card. I kind of feel like from now on, the content needs to be timeless. And, people are not going to like this, but I'm going to bring it up. Look at Final Fantasy XIV. You can go do Palace of the Dead right now. And you'll still get rewarded for doing Palace of the Dead right now. And it is still relevant content right now. This is a feature that was introduced in Heavensward, like probably back in 2013, 2014, still relevant in the game to this day. Look at Eureka, still relevant in the game, even though it's easier, still relevant in the game to this day. Look at Baldician Arsenal, which is what you get at the end of Eureka. Still relevant to this day. Look at the ultimate encounter. Still relevant to this day. It's like, that's what you need to do. Evergreen content. Like, stop this nonsense of like, oh, every new expansion, we delete the shit from the previous one and we move on. And before people tell me, well, you can do the shit from the previous expansions. Yes, I'm sure it'll be very interesting to go into ICC for the 50th time, one-shot everything there and get, invincible. Is that really, relevant? Do you consider that content? You can't even sync yourself to an adequate player level, player power. You just go in there and you just, fucking trounce everything.
I think it will take 2 or 3 expansions. And the truth is that I think Shadowlands took some positive steps towards that. And I know this might not be a popular thing to say, but I think that obtaining your best in slot gear in Shadowlands is actually possible. Deterministic itemization in Season 4 actually happened. These are two really big positives, and technically you were able to get your best in slot.
What is this deterministic itemization he's talking about? I guess with PvP, there's a certain level of determinism in PvP, but definitely not in PvE. Oh, dinars. Yeah, I didn't engage enough with the dinars system, I guess. Can you buy weapons with that? Can you buy weapons with dinars? Because, like, one of my biggest problems recently, you could buy weapons and trinkets. Okay. Then I guess if you had stuck with the game, then yes, you could do it. But because I didn't, then I didn't get to do that because I actually had to take the rewards from the chest.
In 8.3.5 or whatever it was at the end of BFA, but Shadowlands is what really made this happen. Shadowlands also removed a lot of the endless grinds like artifact power and azurite power, and they added cosmetic progression instead, which I think is more fulfilling to players if they choose to engage with it, which is of course an option, which is usually always good in video games, rather than forcing people into doing something. So overall, I think that it will take them a number of expansions to really kind of get the game back on a positive trend, and I do think that Shadowlands took some of those steps, and I think that Dragonflight continues to take those steps. Dragonflight continues to remove borrowed power and instead give it back to the player, and then give players more agency in changing their talents. And I also want to mention here that with the new talent trees, there is absolutely no unnecessary collision. There is no unnecessary friction here. You can just simply change your talents whenever you feel like, and that's all there is to it. And I think that's very admirable, especially depending on what happened with Covenants and Conduit Energy and Azurite weapons and shit like that, Azurite armor, etc., right? And artifact weapons, even. So yes, I think this is a very big positive. I'm very happy to see this, and I think that people experimenting and trying different builds, etc., is the type of gameplay that the game should provide. What I hope to see more of in Dragonflight is making things account wide. I think that making people farm like different types of systems, etc., where you're it's like a quest line or like some sort of grind.
Make reputations account wide. I'm not even sure why this is even a discussion still. I'm not even sure why this is even a talking point. Like, does anybody not want reputations account wide? Just fucking do it. Just literally fucking do it. Like, you can make them maybe even server wide if that's the big problem. You're like, well, blah, 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 and then different servers and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, fine, make it server wide. Just fucking do something. Just fucking do something, dude. It's like, I don't want to go to an alt and then go grind my reputation with Ironforge all the way back to Exalted. This is not something that I want to do. I'm not interested. So just make the shit account wide already. Like, it's so frustrating, dude. Just fucking get over yourselves and make it account wide. And this goes for the reputations in Dragonflight as well, which are not account wide, by the way, which is something that they almost led us to believe, despite the fact that that wasn't the case.
And making players do this on 2 characters, I don't really think is a very big positive. I feel like there is no benefit to the player to making somebody repeat a grind for a second character. I think that you could make the argument that like it's enjoyable to do through gear, but other than gear, I think that farming reputations multiple
farming
times,
gear I think is fine.
Multiple times.
Yeah, that's fucking boring, dude.
Systems like things like
it's bullshit.
Covenants and stuff like this. This is not really fun to do twice. Essences in BFA. So I hope that Dragonflight really focuses on creating more content for players through having alts. because this is the way that a lot of people used to play the game, and they used to make alts whenever they ran out of things to do on their main character. They
Yeah.
wouldn't just quit the game, they would just go play another character, or at least many people would. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably remember back in Mists of Pandaria or even Burning Crusade, right? We had our main character, and then a lot of guilds, especially the more serious guilds, we had our main alts. And those are like the characters that you would sometimes, be able to sneak it into the main raid and everything's around farm and, clean up on all the items. I did that a lot. So overall, I think it's a big positive to give people the ability to play different classes and be able to experience different things in the game, see the game through a different lens, through a different light, and see it through different eyes. And you do that through also making the classes interesting, unique, and giving them different advantages and disadvantages. I think that the truth is that with class fantasy, one of the biggest things that emphasizes class fantasy, and this is an unfortunate reality, but I do think that it's true, is things that classes are not good at. For example, I think that if you look at classic WoW or Wrath of the Lich King, like I feel like in Wrath, like all of the classic trees and like classic classes were like finished. Like everything was like done, finished, good to go. But there were still a lot of things that like warriors were really not very good at self healing. Ret paladins did not have an interrupt. Mages were really not good at taking damage. And I would argue that's probably a good thing because it
Yeah.
gives each class something that they are also very good at. Like warriors are great at cleaving, ret paladins are good, well, also at cleaving, and also healing, and mages are good at pretty much everything else. So overall, what I'm saying is that giving people the ability to play classes that are dynamic, fun, interesting, and that they have control and agency over, I think is a much bigger W than a lot of people might.
This is why whenever I talk about class balance, I don't want classes performing equally on every single thing. Like you don't want all tanks to be good at everything. But I do feel like Blizzard constantly fails at making tanks excel at different things. So like for instance, if you look at the start of BFA, the very start of BFA, you'd have like, okay, blood DKs, they're the best at like self-sustain, if I remember correctly. They were god tier because of their self-sustain. Paladins were just kind of like all-round decent. I don't actually remember how paladins were. Monks were gods at just like taking damage and controlling shit with their ring of peace nonsense. And then you had warriors. What were warriors good at? Warriors were good at getting fucked. That's what warriors were good at. And it's like you can argue, well, warriors did a ton of damage. It's like, yes, they did. They did a fuck ton of damage, but they couldn't survive worth the damn, could they? So it's like you need to make good niches for each of the classes. So like you could have made warriors be the best ones at dealing damage, if that's what you want to do. But they still need to be able to survive long enough to be able to deal that damage, which was not the case.
Imagine. Because thinking about your class and about different talent choices you're going to make, I feel like a game wins whenever you think about it while you're at Taco Bell. Whenever you're not playing the game and you're thinking about playing the game, that means that you're dealing with a very good game.
Yep.
And the more that they have these systems and decisions that players can make, the better the game will be because people will be thinking about it and enjoying it more because they can do things. I know that this is a very common thing, or of course, everybody can clearly go and just look it up and pick the best build, and that's it. And of course, they're going to do that. A lot of people always did that. But I think the illusion of choice is still better than no choice. And I do think that there are little nuances that allow you to change things around that fit your playstyle or fit what you're trying to do just a little bit better, even if it's not Mythic Plus. Like let's say it's World Quests, let's say it's soloing dungeons or soloing bosses for mounts, etc. You can have a talent spec to do that. Then theory crafting and building that can be really fun. I think a parallel to this would be the speed sets back in Legion with Agrimar's Stride, where you would have like a bunch of haste and speed, and you would be able to run really fast. Like that was a really cool meta game, and I hope that they make more of these meta games because I think they make the game a lot more complete and a lot more fun. And just in general, and of course, I know some people don't like this complexity. I'm sorry, I'm a PoE player. I have been for the past 10 years. I love it. I think it's great. So I really hope they continue this. I hope they focus more on just making the classes more fun to play, making gear more fun to get, giving people more deterministic means to get that gear, and also just making the game feel better to progress through. And we'll see kind of how that happens throughout the patches. It's hard to really place any sort of a indicator on what that's going to look like. But I do hope that they don't just make every expansion, or sorry, every patch effectively a new expansion. I feel like that's very demoralizing for somebody to get like their best in slot gear or as close to it as possible in a patch, and then the next patch that gets replaced with like world quest gear or like normal mode gear from the next raid. Maybe that's how some people like it. For me personally, I feel like I like to look at gear as a tool, and that tool will allow me to move forward into the next level. But whenever the next level, everybody just already starts on the same place, basically, it doesn't really feel like you're moving forward at all. It just means it feels like you're getting reset. So I don't know exactly how they can solve that. I have no idea. But I am excited for Dragonflight. I think Dragonflight is. I didn't really want to raid seriously in Castle Nathria or any of the Shadowlands content, and I only raided really at the beginning of BFA, and I didn't even really want to be honest. I just kind of had to because I was still a guild master. But in Dragonflight, if my class is fun to play, if I enjoy it, and if I'm having fun, I might try and play the game a little bit more seriously and kind of try out and theory craft all this cool new stuff. Because at the end of the day, I love WoW. I have for 15 plus years, and seeing a new way to play it makes it fun. And not having arbitrary roadblocks put in the middle of me and having fun is very refreshing. And I look forward to Dragonflight. I think the raids will probably be fine. I haven't really done any of them. I've kind of held off on doing anything until the expansion actually comes out because I just want to play through the quests. I'm not going to try to speed level or anything. I mean, I'll level quickly, but I'm going to read the quests and go through.
I'm not gonna speed level? My man went to max level in Shadowlands in 5 hours. Asmongold's not gonna speed level? What the fuck? That'll be interesting. That I'll have to see.
Everything and just really try to enjoy it and have a good time. I'm not expecting Dragonflight to change my life. I'm not expecting to spend 18 hours a day playing Dragonflight for the next year and a half. I just expect to have fun, play a fun game that I've played for a long time, and I hope that even accidentally I'll enjoy it. So that's about it. I think that playing other games over the years has really kind of helped me have a much healthier outlook and expectation on WoW and video games. And I just really hope that Dragonflight is fun. But if it's not, there's a bunch of other things I can do too that I also find fun as well. So it's okay. And I'll just wait until they get it right, which is basically what I did with Shadowlands. I didn't come back until like season 4. So I just hope that they get it right at the beginning. It seems like they've really been listening to the player base with a lot of other small things, with like the 500 mount achievement, changing that multiple times, etc. And listening to a lot of community feedback with the talent trees. So, I mean, look, I hope it's good. I look forward to playing it. If it's not, I'll survive. It'll be okay. I mean, I've been here through fucking Shadowlands and BFA. What could go wrong? So yeah, I'm excited for Dragonflight, new WoW expansion. I love WoW. Hopefully it's fun. That's all there is to it. So yeah, I think they're making steps in the right direction. Obviously, there's a lot more to take, but I'm glad that there's at least a start. So that's about all I've got. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you guys think about Dragonflight. Do you like the talent trees? Do you like the changes? Do you like everything? I'm kind of curious. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Peace.
I mean, I kind of feel like most of us want it to be good. Is it actually going to be good? Who the fuck knows? Nobody knows if it's going to be good. Is Blizzard doing things that seem like they're taking the game in a better direction? Seems like that's the case. Are they actually going to take it in a better direction? Or how I was watching last night. I was watching the podcast with Bellilar and Matt. And one of the things that Bellar brought up is like, is Ian going to be hiding in a bush? Because that's the idea, right? It's like you're playing the game, you're having a good time, and in comes Ian out of a bush suddenly, ruining your fun. That's kind of how it went down with Shadowlands. It's just like at the beginning, it was all right. Then like a couple of patches in, and you're just like, this is the worst thing I've ever played. Fucking make it stop. I can't take it anymore. This is kind of like, could this be the case with Dragonflight? I don't know. Like I said, I'm going in with no expectations whatsoever. I haven't gotten myself all hyped up over it at all. I thought that might be the case because I've been playing the game over the last couple of weeks, but it hasn't really done much for me. Whether or not, I'm going to change my mind when I actually start playing the game, who the fuck knows? But yeah, fundamentally, I'm going in with no expectations. And by the way, I'm probably going to stream the launch over on the Unleashed channel. That's something that I've been thinking about. Because, listen, there's going to be 1 million people streaming this on Twitch on launch day. And I don't think I'm going to be able to compete with those people. I kind of feel like if I'm going to stream this on launch day, I'll be streaming it to 10 people or something. Everybody's going to be on the big streamer channels watching all the memes and shit. So I'm thinking I might do a YouTube launch for this, and then I'll figure out where I want to do the rest of it. This is just also as a warning for you guys. So we'll see. I'm planning on staying awake for it, X-Ray. I'm planning on staying awake for it. But we'll see if that happens or not. I should be doing an event setup for the channel where I'll start half an hour before the release of the expansion. But we'll see how that works out. YouTube is good. It has the waiting room. Exactly. That's kind of like the point. But anyway, guys, check out the video. Leave a like on there, and if you could also let it playing in the background for a bit, give it some watch time. Don't just like and leave because that's actually bad for the video. But yeah, that's that. We always knew that Asmongold was going to play it no matter what. I think the interesting thing is going to be where the community is a month from now. I think that'll be the most interesting thing to watch. Well, not even a month from now. Let's just see where the community is at the beginning of next year. At the beginning of next year, let's see where the community is. Because there's also, family and whatnot. But we'll see. We'll see how things pan out.